Hey guys, welcome to a special video. This time I have the honor to introduce Josh, or better known as Demondoink, on PokerStars. He has played up to an 10K and is now joined with me. And so for the guys who don't know you, would you mind introducing yourself real quick, Josh?
Yeah, I play mostly on PokerStars, and then typically 500 to 2K. Although in the past I've played a lot bit 5K and 10K, although that wasn't too successful. And then basically been playing full time for about 10 or 11 years, and then I was like 500 in reg for a while, but then that's kind of died in the last couple of years, so now it's mostly reg tables, and then trying to play a bit on other sites like ACR, GG. I should probably play on other sites, but I'm quite bad at betting on money. So and I have a run at one blog as well, so I tend to post on that weekly. In the weekly.
Actually remember the first time that I saw your name was not on the poker tables, not even on Money Once, but actually on a YouTube comment where there was, I think Linus Love and UTB Red Baron had a battle and had some crazy hands. And I think it was from Joy Ingram. And you posted like a response, like explaining what was going on there. Any chance you remember any of them?
To be honest, I don't remember that.
Okay.
I do kind of. I mean, I think if I looked on the video, I would like recall it. But yeah, I mean, the thing is, I comment many.
Yeah.
I always comment on all the Run at Once videos.
Yeah.
Sauce videos, and then YouTube, I pretty much just write the way I write on Run at Once. I just write on YouTube as well.
Yeah.
So, there's probably a bit of a time drain, but I quite.
Yeah. But it was just funny because it was like way back in the day where I was still just starting playing L5 or something, and this was the first time I actively remember seeing the name Demondoink. I think it's cool that now it kind of went full circle and I have you as a guest on my show. But yeah, without further ado, let's get started with the hands that we've picked up.
Okay, cool.
So in the first hand, it will be from my perspective, but I also hope to hear your thoughts, of course. So we face a 3-bet blind, we blind. I think pretty standard, only option is to call. And then we have the King, Queen, 7 rainbow board. And I'm curious to see like how your strategy in this situation.
Well, blind v blind is kind of weird because it's obviously the range is a lot more polar, and so then it's like you tend to side. My kind of default is just to basically go 50%, because my kind of approach in 3-bet pots is well, I'm not splitting sides. The only exception would be mainly if let's say there's a board where you could do like a 2 street hand, but it'd be actually no, Jack 10x is a good example, because that's a board where you can actually just have open shoves on like so like King Queen is obvious example, Ace Jack, Queens, all that can go small as well. So then that's probably the only board where I'd really split sizes, because that's just obvious. It's like if you look like King Queen, you can go in. But then anytime it's like a board where you mix, then in my opinion, I just think humans are never going to be able to actually split properly, because it's biased, and then unless you're RNG, but then you have to RNG bluffs as well. So then, yeah, basically my approach is kind of one size. So in this spot, I'd basically be going. I'm not necessarily sure it's correct, but it just seems like I have a lot of offsuit, junkie King X, junkie Ace X. They don't really kind of want to bet. I mean, I guess the Ace X can bluff all out some pocket pairs. So yeah, kind of approaches like 50%, and then kind of go, I guess, a bit more polar. So like, I'm not really want to see that Jack times 9 either, like Queen 10, Queen 9. So I kind of just go like, 50%.
Any thoughts between like, because with 50 you're you always need a check-back range. I think like blind most boards don't really get the range bet, but I would imagine that this would be one of the boards if you use like a 25% sizing or something, that you could, I don't know, would have 80% plus bets, and it would probably be fine to just simplify. Any merits for that, or like why would you think that you prefer for one sizing approach the half pot sizing, or maybe because you only use half pot blind on the boards?
Well, originally it's because I used I ran the server, and then DVD I just put every size at 50%.
Yeah.
So like it's the same. So I'm kind of like still stuck with that approach.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I think if you use GTA Wizard, and then if you look at the sizings, then definitely as DVD 3-bit pots is something that I definitely should study more often. So it's not my area of expertise, but yeah. So I think sizing, yeah, you could definitely go as in go small and then higher frequency, but yeah, so that'd be fine. Obviously, if I was playing like a small blind or big blind versus button, then I'll just range bet small.
Yeah. I mean, I think a bigger sizing is probably like the more theoretical sizing anyway, because like we mentioned from pre-flop, you have a polar range, so usually this leads to polar c-betting strategies. But I personally like to make my life as simple as possible, so whenever I see a board, I think, okay, I can get away there, right, with just a small range bet, I try to go for it. But of course, half pot check also completely fine. And this time we do face the c-bet. Versus a big c-bet, I get to fold quite a lot, I would say. Like times is blind, probably less than, let's say this was button cutoff. But I imagine I get to fold a decent amount of deuces to sixes, which would all have to be pure calls versus 25 in those positions, I think. And because I get to fold quite a lot of hands, I think I can also probably fast play a bit more and check raise, like hands like king jack, king 10, this way would be my guess. So I shouldn't be too passive and only call in my approach here. But with queen jack, I think the only option here really is to call. Do you agree?
Yeah, I mean, the kind of weird thing is though, it tends to be the case is like ace, king high forwards, like position, especially like EP versus, let's say, button, where you kind of almost playing check raise or fold.
Yeah.
But then it's kind of weird here because I'm not range betting, so I'm going polar. So even though whereas in position on, let's say, ace, king high forwards, button versus hijack, I'm range betting. So then you kind of are more incentivized to energy kind of check raise.
Yeah.
Even if you have king jack, king 10 here, it's like I'm not actually c-betting hand like, let's say, I don't know, like king 8 off, king 9 off, his hand are probably mixing already.
Yeah.
So
that's a fair point.
So then it's like if you actually check raise, you're kind of like I'm obviously always c-betting aces, king jack, and then probably king 10 will already start to mix if you go 50%. And then I don't really c-bet king 5 off.
But I think like for half pot, you probably can also still bet a decent chunk of queen X, right? Because let's say of ace queen,
yeah,
it's easily worth a half pot bet. It's not like I get to fold. Like I still have to call every queen. I have to call my draws 7x. Probably even I would imagine like under pairs higher than a 7 can't pure fold, be my guess in those positions, but not sure.
Yeah, probably. I think in general when there's double Broadway and then there's what, it's like, yeah, obviously if it's like king 7 deuce, then you have to probably even use 50% pretty much defend every pair.
Yeah.
And then it's like as soon as you start having like offsuit, I mean you probably don't have many offsuit queen X. Ace queen probably 4 bets, queen jack.
Mostly, yeah. I mean, there's some calling with ace queen, but yeah, it's true for the most part it's suited.
Yeah, but then you also have all the straight draws, 10 into ace jack is 10. You have some of those offsuit combos, and then 7x. So yeah, you probably just pure fold like the ones under this.
Yeah, I think so.
I mean, you don't really have jacks and 10s, so it's like only really 8s and 9s. So those are probably like the kind of threshold hand.
Yeah, that are close, right? That you maybe look at RNG and are like, yeah, okay, maybe call them sometimes.
Yeah,
Alright, so we do go for the call. And we have the 4 in spades. I imagine your strategy here is just polarized c-bet, turn c-bet. Don't think there is too many different things that you could do here. I don't see any merit in like blocking or anything. So
yeah, I mean, I guess so. From my perspective, your range is like King X, but yeah, mostly kind of yeah. I mean, I guess any King X, King Jack can mix it, and they don't have any stronger King X than that. And then just like sevens probably pure raise, King Queen probably can mix like yeah, because it's kind of slow play.
yeah,
And then and then so yeah, your range from my perspective is like King X, Queen X, 7X, and then occasionally 8s, 9s.
yeah.
So when I'm betting the turn, I guess I'm expecting. Well, I mean, obviously every straight draw's fold unless you have a flush or maybe Ace Jack continues.
Yeah, I think Ace Jack. That's an interesting one. If I face like a 3/4 or something like that. Probably Ace Jack even how the flush draw close, right? Because it beats all your bluffs, and you have like some really trashy hands, like I don't know, Jack 5 suited, right? That might just go for a barrel, or Ace 3 off that we are doing really well against. And we have those nutouts. So I wonder if you have like if you are meant to have some showdown value bluffs, like for example, I don't know, a 7 with a flush draw, for example, like 7-6, where if you bet 7-6 in spades on the turn, I fold out like Ace 7, I fold those 8s and 9s, but I sometimes call you with Ace Jack. Maybe something like that.
Yeah, I think that sounds good, yeah. I think if I had Ace 7 suited, which I actually don't see that, but hypothetically, I would probably never see that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think like if you had 7-6 of spades, I think it'd be actually probably high to bet.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously you don't want to get jammed on. I don't think you're really going to get jammed on. Maybe King Jack shoves or
and probably you would just have to call it off, I guess, because you're doing really well versus my bluff jams like Jack 10 spades and stuff. But yeah, interesting spot. No, go on. I didn't mention.
Yeah, I think like the bottom. Yeah, so obviously every king continues, every queen 7x flusher. I think a good kind of heuristic is when the turns are flush, like let's say the turns are rainbow, then you need to defend kind of more queen x because now you're just
I have less draws, so my calls need to come off from a pair reach now.
Yeah, but then you don't have like the 7x spades either. So, but like when the turns are flush on, now you have all the. You'll see it in like single raise pots as well when the turn brings a flush draw, you can actually defend less and like let's say second pair if they overbet because now you have all the bottom pair and third pair with flush draw and you have like probably some ace high flush draws as well. So like you can actually defend probably a bit less, let's say queen x on the turn than if the turn for of like what
4 in spades, like 4 in spades.
Yeah, it was a 4 of not putting a flush in
Yeah.
So I think like already in the turn 7x of pure fold.
Yeah.
The flush draw, queen x will start folding. Just because of the size, and if I go half.
Yeah, maybe probably because on the flop I get to fold so many under pairs already, right? So my folds have to come from somewhere.
Yeah, another thing to think back is I didn't see bet small on the flop. So like, if I see bet a quarter on the flop, then you have all those pairs, then you have all those pairs to fold in the turn, and that means you can't fold your queen x. But when you see that large, bottom of your flop continue range was weak, and agreed like 8s, 9s. And then, so now what are you folding? If you fold 8s and 9s, obviously 7x, but I'm betting 3/4. So
I mean, there's still like there's ace 10 and like ace check with still majority fold, I guess, maybe even pre but so you still have the straight draws. I guess queen x probably starts mixing, but I think you still have to be quite sticky, I guess. because on the river, like most top pairs will be calling down, right? So yeah, if I call on every top pair, then I still need to have some folds, so they will mostly come from the Queen-X region, right? So they probably have to continue mostly on the turn with Michaels.
Yeah, most of the time, yeah. But I think like they would always continue if I if I see that small, but if I see that large.
That's a good point.
Then if you're not folding, I mean you're folding every 7, it isn't much draw, but that's not even that many combos. And then straight draws, I'm bluffing for let's say whoever an ace, deuce, just randomly barrel. Then I'm not really, I don't really count 10-9 as a fold because I mean it is, but like it's not a better hand. It's like you have to. I'm not really incentivized to other than preempting the bluff by betting ace deuce. Then
I mean, I think it's still like a decent outcome if I fold 10-9. I guess I get what you mean, of course. You don't really fold better, but if it goes check, I'm always bluffing 10-9, and unless you improve. I mean, I guess actually this could be a pretty decent up catcher because you unblock all those check 10 sort of hands. But yeah, like just denying equity, right, with 10-9 versus ace deuce set. I have all the payouts alive, the gut shot is live, and preventing the bluff. I think that's actually quite some value there. But yeah, I definitely get what you mean with the difference between the small flop c-bet and the big flop c-bet. I, of course, with queen jack and spades have a standard call. I don't think there's anything we need to discuss about here. And the river break is in at 10, which is interesting. I wonder what's like the thinnest value hand that you can go for on the river.
Yeah, so now I think actually, so let's say the river's a deuce, then you call every king, but again, now kind of thing, so on this river, you actually improve to some straights very, very, so you somehow have ace jack spades or jack 9 spades, then you improve to that, you also improve to 2 pair, queen 10, obviously king 10.
Yeah.
So now you actually can start holding some top pairs because other parts of your range are through. So on the deuce, you can never fold the king, I don't think.
Yeah.
And then you kind of fold your Queen-X, but now you actually Queen-X improved in some of your straight draws. Very little. So now your kind of MDF is made up by some of those hands as well. So you probably start folding hands like King 8 suited, I guess. I don't think you have King 9 suited probably as well. And then you and then which would obviously just snap call with the brick.
And what do you think would be like the worst 10 you would go for value here? Like, do you think ace king is still strong enough because you still have those king check suited? Or do you think that they are getting in the close territory?
Well, so I guess like, so the king, you don't have offsuit king 10, so king 10 suit is 2 combos, which we can also kind of discount because, like you said, you might check raise the flop. And well, actually, in my ranges, because I open small BB, something 4-bet, but I assume you probably just pure call because you open 3x. So I have 2 combos, queen 10. Queen 10 is, 3 combos. But then occasionally might fold that in a turn. So it's 5, and then occasional, maybe like 6 combos improve on wherever. So I think if you have aces, it's always shoving. Ace king, I guess, gets a bit cool. Oh, is ace king better to shove than? Well, on the one hand, you block
2 pair, but then you block the calling range, I guess.
Yeah, I think aces would still always shove. Ace king maybe close. Wonder if, I mean, actually, Hio just always shoves then, so the kind of thing I told myself is when in doubt, just go all in. You're unsure because if you look at Hio's and you pretty much always go in. Basically just want to make their kind of
and the SPR is also not really that big anymore, right? Like it's only $646 and $888, so it's not like even a full pot size bet. So I also definitely think aces would also jam, and I do think ace king. I do think it starts to get close. Like probably if the SPR was spot, I would definitely look to check back ace king. This SPR, I'm not really sure. I think it also depends how much ace check should I call on the turn, right? Because if ace check maybe is even like, I don't know, somewhat, like, I don't know, let's say ace check suited calls the turn 40% of the time, then of course I'd make quite some nuts on this run-up. But yeah, it quite an interesting spot with like the bottom of video hand. Anyway, we do face the jam, and I remember thinking, and I actually don't like this call now, but my thought process was, having spades is nice, because if you have jack and spades, you give up, but I'm not even sure if this applies here. Because if you have the spades, jack and spades, I can never have ace jack and spades, I can never have jack nine in spades. So you probably would want to bluff with the jack in spades. Let's say you have jack five in spades. I don't think you should give this up on the river, actually. What do you think?
Well, actually, yeah, that's a good point you made, because we just, before we discussed, on the turn that we might call some ace jack. So then that again feeds into the kind of MDF where we don't need to call these hands anymore. Because if we're like, let's say the river's, I guess like a deuce again, would you call this hand?
I will definitely think about it. Yeah, I mean, it's close, right? I would definitely rather call a king, because like having a king is just nice because it removes your ace king when you combos a bit. So definitely think every king is better than this hand, but probably it's still not even enough to only call your king X, I guess. Probably have to call some other hands, and then I probably would actually think that this is a decent hand to call if you always give up with the jack in spades, because then I just block somebody with the queen, and I never block a bluff, so I think that would probably be pretty decent. Also, blind versus blind, it is easy to overbluff, I think. I mean, that's like more from the adjustment node, but especially in tight range formation, quite often it's really tough to find enough bluffs. Blind versus blind, I think it is easy to find those like ace-3 off barrels, or like there are a lot of combos that are possible to bluff. So I think that also makes for a bit of more incentive to catch than if it was a spot where best case my call is break even, and at worst case it's losing massively. if you understand what I mean. And but yeah, actually here I really don't like the call, because in game I thought the jack in spades nice because it doesn't block bluffs, but probably if you have jack 5 in spades, you should just go for it. Blocking jack 9 in spades, blocking ace jack in spades. Or do you also think that way?
So I'm trying to kind of figure out if this is a better call than like king 9. So
yeah.
I mean, I guess you have, like you say, you got some ace jack, got some river two pairs, king jack sometimes. So those hands are all calling. And then you've got hands like ace queen, although actually you don't really have the ace queen style.
I think probably ace queen I would not like to call, because I would imagine most of your bluffs would come from random ace-6.
Yeah, I just don't think you have that.
Yeah, that's another thing.
Like how we flop. I'm pretty sure I just do four, but I think it's like a little bit.
Yeah.
So it's like, and don't have other offset queen X. So yeah, actually it was pretty low in your range. I mean, you're snap holding 7x spades.
Yeah.
And like you don't really have ace queen, you don't have queen jack offsuit. So you've got queen 9 suit, but that may occasionally fold in the turn. So it's like kinda don't have many worse hands. King 9, king 8 suit. Absolute hand strength wise are stronger, but obviously blocker wise it might not be. So basically you're kinda weakest. Your snap holding 7x spades. Snap hold queen 9 if you ever have it. You don't really have a queen.
Yeah, I think if I had a queen that wouldn't block the straight, and in my head again the spades I thought they were positive contributing factor, but now I think differently. But if I had a queen jack in hearts, I also would have always folded. But yeah, I think it boils down towards at that time I thought the spades would be like decent unblocker, but now I think it's actually not the case. But anyway, I mean, it's everywhere call decision, so you can always talk hours about it and try to find arguments for calling or folding. I did flick it in, and unfortunately, you had it this time. The ace jack.
Unfortunately. It's good to think it wasn't a spade though.
Yeah. That's true.
I don't really. I feel like you win on most rivers because on a spade bluff, and then on. Yeah, I mean, I guess if I hit an ace, I win, but and then I give up. I think it boils down to whether you think because the kind of hands the kind of threshold hands bring on the river, like Queen Jack or the King 9, King 8. I think I don't even your range is actually pretty tight here, so it's like you don't really have. I think it's just like is it better to call Queen Jack here or King 9, King 8, and then is something that combo might actually be better than King 9, King 8. Guess because if I'm not shoving
ace king, for sure. Yeah, it is a tough spot. But anyway, let's move on to the next hand. We already talked in half an hour, and we are at hand one and prepared some more hands. So. Certainly an interesting one. So the next one was played at 2K, and it's a multi-way, so completely different dynamic to open on a gun. This Robin guy was the recreational table, so definitely I'm more incentivized to flat wider to try to play some pots with this guy. I think Queen 9 probably also a decent hand to free bet because once I play flats, my free betting range should get more polarized. So there's more trashy hands get free bet a bit more. But then you could again make the argument that where does maybe come from? Doesn't really come from me playing versus you. It comes from me playing versus this guy. So also just getting those hands more makes also a lot of sense to try to get involved with Robin. Also makes the call. And we go freeway to the flop. How would your strategy be in this situation with the recreational and the small blind?
It's like kind of weird because it's like I think maybe nowadays you could study three-way pots, but I don't think anyone ever does it even. But it's like, so if it was two regs, I'd just range check, but then with a fish in or reg, then probably develop some kind of c-bet range.
Yeah.
Just because like if you've got then
for sure you'll
probably play quite straightforward.
Exactly.
Because I'm playing straightforward. But then against if it's like whoever, Sonny or Shiley or whatever in the small blind, I'm not probably want to see that those hands because they could start turning like a 9 into bluff or something.
Yeah.
So whereas that guy's just going to call a 9.
Exactly.
So I think with him I'm going to be a bit more linear. I'm going to develop a c-bet range and then and it's going to be like a good queen plus probably ace.
Makes sense. So you end up checking, and now I think, let's say this was a heads-up pot between me and you. I would play a pot c-bet strategy here, but multi-way want to size down. So probably again, if we were 3 regs, I would size down to maybe half pot, because again, maybe even smaller would be better. But I am polarized, so I like to size it a bit. I don't know if I would pick half pot, but I have no idea even if this is good. Maybe 1/3 is just, despite me stepping polar, maybe 1/3 is the sizing to go. If we were 3 regs. But again, with this Robin guy, I am incentivized to play a bit more face up when I have a good hand, because it's just the most important thing for me here is that I put in as much money as possible versus him. So start with a 3/4 step. And Robin calls, and you also call. So what would be your overcalling range here? What hands would you already fold?
I think already I'm just full king queen because you're representing stronger than the hand. If I improve, I'm just giving you a lot of space.
I mean, to be fair, I think I could still stab king queen because I would also expect you to mostly see that your kings, aces, strong hands.
Yeah, but even if that's the case, that's like the bottom of your value bet. Like, you can block a lot of the time. He's in the pot, he's got some equity, spaces. So I think like I guess like any queen with bad or flush draw, maybe even like ace, 9 of clubs, just because if I make a bad or flush draw, games then, and then I guess I'm only the king jack, king 10 of clubs.
Yeah.
Probably defend because so that and then obviously jack 10 any flush draw.
Yeah.
I mean, you could argue you should fold 5 or hearts, so
yeah, definitely interesting spot how like what the threshold here should be. But yeah, I agree with you. I would also be on the tighter side because I'm quite often gonna have a good hand, and like you said, even when I have bluffs, I will quite often barrel the turn, so you don't really have the scenario too much where I stab and then check behind. Yeah, when you comes through with your weak hands, basically hope to check down and win. But anyway, you end up calling with, like we said, a pretty strong range. And the turn is definitely interesting. The ace in clubs. Both of you check. And I'm quite curious how you would play the spot. But my thought process was, if I barrel the turn, like there's almost no river where I can value bet river again. And if I bet queen 9 now, you are just gonna start folding a hand like king queen because I wouldn't imagine it to call king queen on the turn. So what my thought process was, when I bet the turn, I fold out the hands that I'm doing really well against. And I even think this Robin guy might have started to fold a hand like queen check on the turn. So if that would happen, that I fold out the hands that I'm doing really well against and only get called by like ace-x in hearts or queen-x in clubs, which have infinite equity versus me, I felt like it's almost starting to get a bit thin to bet. Like I have the best hand now in most cases, but if I bet and get called, the calling range will have so much equity versus me that on most runouts I can't really value bet anymore. That makes sense.
Yeah, I think it just kind of depends because he's relatively passive, so I don't think he's really going to take a hand like king, jack, clubs, and raise. So I think also, he can't really value bet, but I think unless we start donking rivers, doesn't matter a ton, because kind of like with him in the pot, you basically want to just charge draws. And then just charge, like he's going to call every time on the turn with 9x clubs, 3x clubs. And I know obviously you're not doing amazing, but you've still got like good equity against that. I'm never going to bluff check it. So if I've got like, the only time if a combo drop it, then, I'd probably just call in all honesty, just because like, I'd be drawn to nuts. So, and then, you're still pretty uncapped. You have like 9 and 3s. Although I have ace queen of aces. So I think, you could go either way. I think like with the way he plays a bit more passive, I'd probably expect, because even though he can't buy bet a lot of rivers, it's not like, I don't like that much. Yeah,
I mean, that's definitely true. That's the big advantage that I can just go for the check back. But I figured if I bet, I fold out like a hand like king queen or queen check, which I might get some value from if it goes check check. But maybe also not, because then there's also infinite runouts where I don't get any value from those hands. But yeah, in my head I felt like I'm not sure how much advantage is gained by betting the turn, and let's say he has king check in hearts, and even though it doesn't raise, he has like what, I don't know, but pretty decent equity versus me. And if I bet like 3/4, it's not like I'm not sure if the sense makes sense, but like pushing equity, Like Chapman used to use it where if I get called, I'm doing really well, right? Like for example, if he would call on a turn of king queen, he's almost it draws to this king, these two pair out, so it's pretty dead versus me. But with a hand like ace-6 in hearts, he has all his two pair combos alive, then he has the flush draw. So it's like I'm not really gaining much effort by making the pot bigger because in so many run-outs, I would be more happy if the pot was smaller. Because if I check back the turn, the river is the 6 in hearts and he pots, I can just fold.
Yeah, but then, so basically, it'd only be bad if he started like pot bluffing. Like, let's say the river's a 6 hearts and he pot leads, and let's say you bet the turn, the river's a 6 hearts, he pot leads. So it's only bad if he starts bluffing hand, because if he has a flush, like you just got in, 3/4 bet with 60 odd, like let's say 66% equity. It's like, even though there are a lot of bad rivers, it only starts becoming bad if he starts if people start leading into with bluffs, because obviously that value you're making the trick fold. So like, I think I would still probably just bet, because even though there's not a lot of rivers, you're in position. So if you were switched with me, then I'd be a lot more incentivized to check, because then I can bluff and check you. But then you're in position. They're never gonna. Neither of us are ever gonna donk bluff into you, and you're just getting like big bet in with good equity. So it only becomes kind of bad, I'd say, if one of us check raises, like he's quite passive, or if one of us check call and then donk leads into the bluff.
I definitely get what you mean. Like those would be the worst case scenarios if you like bluff check with me on the turn or donk bluff. So yeah, that for sure. But I felt like even without that, I mean, we talked about the reasons, but it's interesting. I'm not sure about it. That's why I asked you. So you would have always bet on the turn.
I think so, just because I don't really care if I get raises. And then I don't expect any donk bluffs, and then I just expect him to call. Because you say there's a lot of bad rivers, but it's like, it doesn't really matter. If he calls you, just always got the best hand, so you're just getting in like a big bet. Like if you said on every street you could just get a big bet in with 60% equity, you take it. So it's like, I think it only becomes bad if he starts to bluff check raise or bluff donk into you.
That makes sense. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, obviously from a more kind of theoretical approach, or against like more aggressive Rex, then I think I still think it's obviously a fine check back.
I mean, I think probably it would be interesting to see, like, also in the comments, you guys can let us know what you would have done. But I definitely see, after hearing your arguments, the merits for betting. And I also think it's like the standard line to bet when you have two pair. But yeah, I figured, for the reason that I talked about, maybe this would make a decent check. Anyway, I did end up checking back, and we get the cleanest river in the deck. And you bet half pots. What do you think? What do you think would be your value hands in that sizing? Do you think, or would you ever care to be like balanced here in this line with the Wayne and after I check back?
I mean, I think if I've got like 5, 6 of hearts, then I'll just always bluff. Because, also then I'd block E6 hearts. So I mean, like, I don't just, I still bluff when there's a wrecking pot. Some people like to bluff.
No, I don't mean that you're regular bluffing, but in terms of value hands, would you ever, if you had ace-9, would you bet half pot?
I don't think I have ace-9 because I only have ace-9 flop.
Yeah, that's also true. So I mean, maybe you have like ace hearts 9?
Yeah, probably. Probably not, because I don't really care about blocker. Like, I'd only be good if it was like, if someone's capable of folding like maybe a weak flush or something. I'm interested in, or folding them off like a set. But I'm just not gonna, like, maybe if there's a reg in the small blind, I would call to then bluff hearts, but I'm just kind of looking for equity, sort of mean flop check calling. So I think, basically I'll probably just bet any ace-x here.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of value, and then I'd have some random bluffs like low hearts, jack hit.
So what would you do in my shoes here?
Well, problem is, if you raise, I mean, you have what, 5, 4 hearts.
Yeah, I don't really have nutted hands in a race, but I also would not have credited you with having really strong hands, because let's say you have a set, you probably check with the flop. If you had like ace-9 or ace-queen, I would have imagined that you just go bigger because you want to bet bigger versus him. And like, I also usually don't have anything too strong that would raise the row anyway, right? So fade pretty thin to raise, but I figured I probably almost always have the best hand.
Yeah, it's kind of weird because the thing is, if you call, he might call as well behind. So
Yeah.
like like let's say I'm bluffing, and he just has a random ace, or you might call. So I think
that's also a fair point too.
I think I might just call. But then I can still have if I have ace queen, I'd block all the calls, so I would just go half. And if I have pocket aces, again I block, especially aces with ace of hearts, then I'll just go half because if I go pot, not like I'm not expecting you to ever call a queen if I go pot. And I think I only have one side here.
Okay.
I have ace queen here. Nah, that mixed flop aces. Aces is gonna mix the flop. But I think I'd probably just call. I mean, raising is okay. But just for my shoes is like, are you actually gonna bluff here as well?
And the thing is, like, I'm also wrapping so little in this line. I feel like you might just get curious and call, because what the fuck do I have here, right? I polarize on the flop, then I check back the turn, so I basically never have anything. And then I raise, so like, what am I saying? I have deuces or 4-5, basically.
Yeah. I'll probably call by raising.
Yeah, but I also thought it was really close. But yeah, also the argument that he made overcalled is pretty interesting, because that definitely could happen, that he just sees that there are a lot of draws that miss, and he has, I don't know, who knows, ace check, and just decides to go ahead and check. Yeah, who knows, right? Yeah. So yeah, I went for the raise. Yeah, unfortunately folded. Probably don't remember what you had there, I guess.
I can actually, I'll look up the hand.
Yeah. Yes. But yeah, that was an interesting hand, like not, of course, very untheoretical with the recreational. But yeah, like the main decision points, of course, the turn check back and also the row raise. So interested to hear other thoughts. Definitely could see why checking back the turn is also not so great. I think it still has some merit, but I definitely also see the points, not just being straightforward. And let's go to the next hand. This was played on 500 L, the 3-bet, and gets called. So here I also just go for the 25 with range. And I think in those positions you actually already have to be quite tight, I would imagine. So let's say this was small blind button. Let's say you have like, I don't know, hand like pocket 10s, you probably still just have to call because I have so many 9s, 8s, which you're doing well against. But in those positions, I imagine if you have like pocket 10s, pocket checks, even versus the tiny sizing, I think it's already really close. Might even be like, yeah. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, but then that kind of almost like, that kind of makes like a small c-bet, the hands like this, not great. If I'm just yeah, I mean, I probably just small bit. I actually wonder if on the sport, because obviously from the big blind you just go bigger check. But like you say, if I have queens or jacks, I mean, probably you still called.
Yeah, exactly.
You got what 8 plus. Yeah. So I probably still always call queens to call jacks, and then like 7s, 8s, 9s, and then if I have low pairs, probably.
Yeah, I also think that if you have like lower pairs, they become like better again. Like you said, to either call or bluff turn or even start racing if you develop a racing range on a flop. But yeah, I think actually nut low hands, I think like 9s, 10s are probably pretty much the nut low hands to call, I guess. The checks pretty close, queens probably just too strong because it just has my checks lead. Because let's say I have pocket 8s, I'm probably going to bluff on most runouts, so it's not like you get to realize the showdown value versus those hands. But they are pretty interesting. So we go for a small c-bet to call. And turn brings in the triple Broadway. So usually in triple Broadway textures, you have to play quite passive in the small blind because you already fold a lot on the flop, right? So your calling range is quite strong. I'm c-betting range, so I still have some weaker hands like 8s and 9s, which you never have. And you also have a decent amount of ace-king off probably in those positions. Or would you mostly go ahead and forward them? I think people are also playing quite differently.
Yeah, I think offsuit I would definitely hijack.
Yeah.
Yeah, probably. I think from the cutoff it's maybe like 50-50, and then from this I'm probably calling more than I don't know, like 2,000 of the time. Probably ace king suit. I'll just
Yeah.
a bit, and then so maybe I have half 2/3 of ace king.
Mm-hmm.
I'll probably still go like half to them.
Yeah. So you do have quite a lot of strong hands here as well. Like we just talked about all those ace king combos. So I think overall I need to be careful on the turn and also check a decent amount of strong hands. I think from what I've started is that we would rather a decent small blind button formation. I don't know if it's true in this formation, but often sets check more than 2 pair. I think the reason for that is, let's say I have pocket kings. I don't mind letting you hit the set. For example, if you have like queens or 9s or 8s or whatever, I don't mind giving away equity to those hands because they're drawing dead. And with ace king, I don't mind if you fold one of those pocket pair holdings. At least this is more true in a small blind button formation where those hands can't always bluff. I'm not so sure if this applies that much in this spot because now if you have 8s, you probably are mostly bluffing yourself anyway. But yeah, I still would probably play more passive with sets and bet more aggressive with ace king. Then the question is, what are my best bluffs? And there's no flush draw on board, so already a lot of bluffs eliminated. And I figured that hands like Jack 10, Queen Jack are probably pretty decent because they can't really, like they realize their equity better by betting. If that makes sense. Like they can't really check call, and I would treat them like as hands that have like 5 2-pair outs, which to be fair are not super clean, but at least better than nothing, and a straight draw and decent blocker. So those would be hands that could be barreled. And then I figured King 10 is like similar. I figured the 10 actually is pretty nice because I would imagine that you pure fold pocket 10s on the flop. And I also figured you probably fold checks also a decent amount so that the turn is not that terrible for me. Where I always see the checks and you might already fold some of them. So I figured King 10 might actually be a decent barrel because the 10 only blocks continuous, or at least for the most part, because pocket 10s already folds flop. And you have a lot of ace king in those shoes. And also a hand like king queen suited, I imagine, is a better turn call than like ace 5 suited. So that was some of the reasons why I decided to go ahead and barrel this candidate. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, you definitely. I think maybe in the pre-solver era, people make mistake like pocket 10s, pocket queens, and then kind of bluff those hands.
Yeah.
blocking the straight, but yeah, those are obviously not very good. So you need to start blocking pairs. So personally, I don't leave it like from the small blind, random 6x. But I guess those could be decent blocks as well.
Yeah.
Then you have to block well, let's say you have 6 and third, then you unblock my king queen pulls, king 10 pulls.
I think it's also about 3-betting those in the small blind, so I know I just don't have them.
Okay, yeah, okay. Just go that then. Yeah, so basically, they need to bluff either a king or a jack. You don't need to bluff queens or tens. So it's like deciding that. I think actually this is a lot better than, I think king queen would be kind of bad. By the river, my fold should be like
ace queen.
If I have ace queen off, that's what a couple. And then also like king queen just shows down against king 10 myself.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess like jack 10, queen jack, king 10. King 10 is kind of high, but on the river it's kind of like a combo that I feel like if you ever do bet in the turn, you probably just always shove in the river.
Yeah.
But then you probably don't bet it often. Whereas a jack, maybe a jack is decent to bet in the turn, but then you mix in the river because I think even a hand like ace jack might be in is probably indifferent on the river. So when you have a king on the river, now you're just purely blocking calls with jack. Yeah, actually start blocking.
And I mean, the private also blocks some folds on the river. I mean, it depends. Like, would you call king queen suited on the turn here, or would you just block this much?
Yeah, it seems like a kind of threshold this mix. Like same with maybe even like he obviously call every ace queen, and then king queen mix ace 10 probably call, and then like even ace 10 might already be close, and then you just pure fold jack 10 queen jack, and then you go, and then you have like I guess because actually you see bet small, so you have to kind of probably ace 10 I guess self call.
Yeah.
So probably you're formed on the turn like ace 5, ace.
Yeah, I think those are just like the worst candidates because obviously they don't have the edit gut shot. So I think those are just always folding. And then some hands like I don't know, also like 6-5 that you might have probably will have right at least at some frequency. Hence those other players, like if you have pocket queens, for example, you probably also the turn, I imagine. So another reason. Sorry.
Yeah, well, thinking back to the block size, it's kind of making me almost because you keep it so small, and then I actually have like hands like under pairs. Although that's pretty low grading play, and I don't have in 6x low grading play. Yeah, probably can still get away with. But yeah, I think like king queen actually ace 10 probably never fold based on block size. Like they are on the river opposite. I think if you bet a bit bigger, then they still maybe well, but I don't know. I think we have other hands.
So quite a tough spot already. I bet to decide to call. And we got the blank river, and we already talked about when I arrive here, this feels like pretty nutted combo to jam. Not having a queen seems great because I completely agree with you. I think ace queen will be one of your main call fold hands. I also think maybe king queen if you have that hand on the turn. Honestly, it's not a great spot to bluff because I think you might have to make some folds with some two pair at some frequency because like I'm not jamming ace queen myself, right? So I'm not sure. Like it's not the spot where you're like fist bump happy to bluff the spot. But it felt like this would be a pretty nice candidate to use. And I think a lot better than a hand like queen check, which like having a queen on the river seems really good. So I think jack 10 and king 10 seem like nice candidates to barrel through.
Yeah, if I arrive in the river, I'll just pure shove. But I think like against kind of weaker regs, they probably overcall this spot. So it's like when there's kind of triple Broadway and they have a lot to pairs, a lot.
Yeah, for sure.
They value too much absolute hand strength. So they'll be like, oh, I've got two pair, I call. I've got ace queen, I call. So the reality is the range is so tight at this point.
Exactly.
When people you can always can. So like against worse regs, then you can also probably just not even bluff.
Yeah. And then you just also don't even bluff the turn. And just be like, okay, I just have value only. And I agree with you. That's why I said like it's not a great spot, but versus a competent opponent, we do need to occasionally show up with some bluffs to make you want to call me up, and I have ace king as well. So
yeah, I like that.
yeah.
I feel like I can't remember the hand. That's always called.
Yeah, you did call.
Okay.
And you did have pocket checks, unfortunately. So you did not fold like like I wanted to.
I'm actually happy I found that flop call because initially I was like I should fold, but then I was like no, actually fold. I guess in game I didn't figure that out.
Yeah. I think it's really close. Like that would be interesting because like basically like you have aces and kings, which of course snap called, and you have the queen check 10, which also did. So your folds have to come from your air region. And then the question is just like which pairs are the worst. And then I imagine like 10s, 9s are the worst, and then like the lower pairs are better again, and checks I think is like in between. Queens probably always has to call. And I feel like checks is like I would imagine a mixed call would be my guess.
Yeah, I think like if you're range then probably queens I think is always calm because you just have every 8s, 9s, 10s, jacks, queens.
Yeah.
And 7s probably mixed. And then but yeah, like jacks is a threshold. I think I've always called queens.
Yeah.
So I guess you got back in the R&D or that like station.
Yeah, makes sense. But at least when you showed on a bluff, you invest in the future, right? The other guy sees that you are at least capable of bluffing, so you might get paid when you have a value hand.
Yeah, I'll just look at down at our ace queen and don't even think.
Yeah.
They're just like, oh, I've got. Yeah,
I mean, hopefully you won't snap me off of his screen, otherwise the call would be really bad. Okay, let's do one more hand. So here we have, it was again Freeway, so I don't remember that guy, but I imagine recreational looks like it, not full stack.
What was his name? I can't.
It's City Wito, 78. Yeah, so I don't remember. We decide to flat. And
I remember this.
yeah, that one was interesting as well. So flop goes check down. I imagine similar to previously, you will be a bit more face up with the recreational in the small blind, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, I think against the big blind, you can decide to consider betters for small. Obviously, I think probably the better size would be larger, but you can probably bet like 80% if you go a third, and then I guess go big you can go 55% roughly, and then so with him, and I'm probably just gonna go a bit. Maybe I'll just go in between and go like half pot, and then just do like I don't know exactly. Probably like king queen plus, and then plus. Yeah,
makes sense. So we turn the nuts basically, and it gets checked to us. And because I also don't give you, like, for example, I have king queen myself here. I would also be pretty confident that I always have the best hand. To be fair, nowadays I probably would not overbet, but only pot because we have freeway. But honestly, on such a brink, I don't really mind it because unless you also make exactly pocket fours or queen four, you don't really improve. The recreational probably doesn't have anything. So probably if I have king queen here, it's just worth a 150 bet anyway, even motivate. Do you agree?
Yeah. Oh yeah, definitely. I think it just depends like how you think you're gonna extract value.
Yeah.
Like, is he just gonna fold every 9 if you go this side, or every 7? So yeah, maybe pot. But I mean, obviously, your range can definitely support this side.
Yeah.
But if we are set, not set, and probably never queens or nines.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's fine. I'd probably go flop, but just because I feel like small blind just almost always folding, so I kind of just want to keep them in with some random pair, and then I'm only really calling my queen size. Even the queen, I might depends what I was looking at. Queen 6 my folders.
Versus this polarized strategy from me, I imagine you would mostly defend by calling.
Yeah, probably not really. I mean, if I raise them, that's possible. But I guess you never have queens, and then probably with him you don't even have nines. So then you've only, I think if I have fours, always deposit 7. So then we discuss you bet king, queen, bluff. You've got every 2 pair. You got a ton of bluff. So I think if I have like fours.
Yeah, for us it's like the fist bump hand you really want to raise.
I think that's like that.
Yeah.
If I ever have queen, I get would I raise queen.
I mean, probably not too best, but
depends if I put you on fours or
not. So we do face the raise, and I was thinking like, this is not the worst spot. But it's also a bit interesting because it depends like how you construct the raising range here. How I should play back versus you. Because if you are like only raising fours and then like some bluff for, then I'm probably not really incentivized to build a 3-bet range versus your raise. Or at least a very tiny one, maybe around 7s, but not really incentivized to raise back. But then you could also like implement like some queen X or some big pairs that raise, and then I could you get in the spot where I could play face up, right? I could 3-bet with nuts and only call with draws, which would also be like a potential exploit for you, which I would have to adjust by re-raising you to punish those like queen X raises. But I don't know how your raising range consists in the first place, so that I felt like makes it really tough to find the correct play here if I want to play 3-bets or only call. How would you see this spot?
Well, I think like going back to the flop is like I'm going to be very linear with my c-bet. So if it's, let's say if it's a reg in the small blind, I'm going to check back like ace, queen, king, queen, maybe even like aces and kings. But if it's a reg, then I'm just going to be c-betting all them. So I'm just going to be linear. So I don't even have any of those queen X or like overpair to raise anymore. So yeah, then I'm basically just repping fours or pocket queens. Pocket queens, I don't know if I even want to raise. I mean, the thing is, when you overbet, you're not really repping a queen, you're repping a two pair.
Yeah. That's why I'm not really like thinking you raising a queen, but more like, I don't know, like a weak queen or a weak pair to maybe exploit that I might play face up and pass the venue and call draws. That makes sense.
I just don't think I have many value hands that I think I'm literally just raising sets here, so there's not. I just wouldn't play any c-bets in your shoes.
Yeah.
Because I'm c-betting every good queen X plus. I'm just polar on the tongue, just raising basically a set.
Yeah.
And then if you've got like queen 9, 7, 9, queen 7, I mean I guess you just start folding. I can't. What's the rate? What's the rate size?
Like 3x my pot, 3x my sizing. Okay. So
yeah, I'm definitely never raced like basically, I'm just continuing with Colin and
yeah. I do decide to click call, and I guess there's not really a lot of sense to donk on the river when you already say that you basically do with pocket like a very strong hand or nothing. Then not really incentivized to honk, I guess.
No.
Because if you have pocket fours, you definitely will still value bet here. Right? I mean, I make some, like I improve a bit, right? 9-7, queen 7, but you can still value bet fours, I guess.
Yeah. Actually, yeah, because I don't even know if those fours. So like you have these fours even valid, like you have queen 9. Yeah. Yeah, actually, I don't even know if I'm a bluff here. I think it's literally just like queen.
Yeah.
But then I don't have any calls, so like if you don't here, well, I'm not calling you to the bluff.
Yeah, but you might call with pocket fours. But I have 2 fours, so that's not possible.
Yeah. I think if I remember, that's the reason that bluff, because I was like, I'm not even. I think I'm only value betting pocket queens and whatever. Like pocket four is what I'd only be trying to get called by queen 9, which I guess the queen 9's a lot of combos, but you still have. Actually, no, I wouldn't think. So you have queen 7 third, and then you have 9-7 third. Then you have all the queen 9. But even I don't even know if you're even calling queen 9 because at that point it's actually quite low in your range. Because you probably just fold like king queen against big turn range. So I think your range on the turn is basically like 2 pair. Well, so like if I bet you only like you're basically just folding queen 9. So 5-4 is what I'm maybe betting for. So I think I'll literally just if I've probably queens here, I bet. I think if you're like worst player, I would always bet worst. If you're obviously a fish, but then and I think that's why I didn't bluff because I'm not even confident.
It's interesting. So you had the ace 4, because I mean I guess there's no flush draw. You don't really have any EV in the check back line, I guess. If there was a flush draw present, you would win versus some combo draws also, I guess.
Yeah.
But now, it's just like, do you get enough folds if you bet, basically? Because I don't think you have check with EV anymore, right?
No, I mean basically, but the problem is if I have a bluffing range, I have to have a valid bet range.
Yeah, for sure.
And then I don't even know if I have a valid bet range.
Yeah.
Like I think fours is very close.
Yeah.
And then it's basically queen, and then even I wonder if even if I bet, like I guess if I go all in, then you would never. Then what is it like 3x pot?
Yeah, all in is quite exciting, but I mean the only hand that would want to do this is I guess pocket queens.
And then you can still have. Yeah. But like I think I just don't really have a bet range there. So you're kind of unlucky because if the river's like a deuce, then I think there's.
I would have got the rest of it would have been $2,000 richer, you say?
Oh, it's good. There's a good chance. And you only have +7.
Yeah.
Okay, you have one. Yeah, well, you have the one combo for 7. At least I bet. I may not jam. I'll probably bet big and then try and push up to there. So it's kind of a. But on that river, I'm just like, well, I have lots of need to value it. So I really don't know how to value this. So
That's
it's probably like that. So, but yeah, I don't expect to win it. Also, I need to. If I'm bluffing it, if I'm betting pocket fours, that's like 3 combos. So if I got ace 4, that's already.
Yeah, for sure.
So like,
it's quite easy to overdo this. So look at like a 4 on the turn and like, hey, that's a pretty nice hand to potentially raise and then also bluff on the river. So I think it's pretty easy to overdo this actually. Also easy to never do it. It's quite like polarized, I think. Like some players might only have nuts when they raise the turn. Some players might be a bit too aggressive. Really agree. And then there's like rarely the middle ground where it's really balanced.
Yeah, I mean, I think probably most people will not have any raise range here.
Yeah.
But the good thing is, I like the turn range even just in the back end because if you've got like king queen, I think you never call. You might even bet the size of queen jack. And then if you have a draw, you're obviously going to be called in every straight draw. And then it's easy in your shoes to overdo all your straight draw. So it's not a full bet, so you just leave it. But yeah, so then I get a ton of folds on the turn, and then on certain rivers I want to bluff on this river. I didn't bluff. I knew you had fours and you had fours. Although I don't even know if I guess if I jab hand probably fold. Actually, yeah, that hand would be terrible because then it just blocks on the bluff. Actually, Queen 9 would be way better if I go in.
But like going back to if you start, like you mentioned, if you raise turn Ace-4 and you are ready to fold stacks and queen-X. That's what I mean if you could start raising like more weak pairs, like maybe even a hand like, I don't know, like more 4x or 5 suited, maybe even weak queen-X, get me, or like a 9, whatever, gets me to fold hand like king-queen, and also all my draws, which could easily be good. So if you start raising more pairs, I probably would have to adjust by free betting you more to not allow you to raise those pairs and then check back, if that makes sense.
But I'm not really check back for any, easy. But yeah, or you could just call. I mean, if you just think I'm bluffing all these hands, you can just call, because it's not winning, but it's, I guess with your draws, you maybe want to do that. And then, I see some merit in that. I think, I mean, it's kind of weird, but because I'm not, if you click back, I'm basically just only going to continue with the set of. But I suppose if you got like 10-8 and then I'm just raising Ace-4, you could just click it back and get it.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing. Especially if you're not saying that you overdo it, but if people overdo like raising those blocker hands where you have those big pairs, I could punish this by like free betting more draws, but then if I would only free bet my draws, you would want to call down with this one. So I'm also incentivized to raise value. It's a weird spot. It's a really weird spot.
It's a good point actually. I think that it's basically, although I think I'm not really overdoing that. But I suppose like 4s as many combos and then if you raise 4, but I don't think any other 4x I'm raising. I'm never rating up this call queen or but I think like Ace-4 is probably the only 4 that because you don't have Ace-Queen. So like if I'm raising here, I want to unblock your draws and then unblock your top pair folds.
And also, let's say I would call king-queen with Ace-4, you still have your 2 pair offs with some other hands maybe. I mean, I guess you would have 2 pair offs anyway, so that's not really, that doesn't make sense.
Very good disguise, but I mean, that's a good point. I think it would just be a spot where you just literally want to click back with a bluff. If you have any like hat, so this hand would never raise, but then if you had like 6-8, you could click back. But again, I don't think I'm like way overdoing it. So probably just all those hands. But like it's again a weird spot. That's like a red line. Like picking up the spot with a bluff, I think he's so shit.
Imagine a free bet, you call Ace-4 and you call the river down. That would be an awesome. I jam the river, you call Ace-4, I show 6-8 to win. That would have been also. It would have been a cool win.
Maybe I would have clicked back. I don't know if I would have called them. I just like play the game a second, and then you can go on with your open ender. I'm just kind. You can't even be that bad because if you have the open ender, if I'm ever bluffing, then even if I have a set, you have like what, I don't know, 15% equity. And then if you call big at that point, that like there's a lot of fault. But I mean, that's all.
Once you start with the clicking, it just gets out of hand. So that's also like in theory often the case, right? Once someone once there's a click range, or someone raises even though he should not, the other player often should respond also by clicking, and then you have this this click course, which is kind of funny.
Yeah, it used to happen a few years ago. It's like, doesn't happen as much now with the song. But it was like, yeah, people used to click. I remember Zelik, he used to, the Russian guy, he used to, I feel like any time I bluff raise in DVD, just like instantly click it back. Almost felt like one point you could see my cards. I was like, I just could never win a paw against him. Like, I was like, it's like but I'm like, yeah, he was like the expert at like, figuring out when you were just kind of doing these quick back plays and you think he's weak, and then he was just doing the same. Yeah. It's quite fun.
Nice. Yeah, we already talked about over an hour, so I think good time to call the video. Thanks again for taking your time and being on the podcast. Just very much appreciated of it. And any last words you want to say to the audience?
Not really. Just like enjoyable and not. Yeah, I guess like maybe talked a bit too much in the podcast, but hopefully. Yeah. I mean, I think you chose good hands and not just like a few bit marks.
Yeah.
Wide variety. I mean, I never studied these situations because you can't really.
Yeah.
It's fun.
So I hope you guys enjoyed it, and make sure to leave a like and subscribe, and see you next one.